All right, we got breaking news. Taylor Decker is back for year 11.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. We got ourselves a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network. My name is Matt Dery. Today is Tuesday, February 24th, in a day one of the Combine tomorrow in Indianapolis, Wednesday, February 25th. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody, and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, shouts to our everydayers who are out there, our everyday listeners. We appreciate you. We got big news today. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell speak this afternoon, and then minutes ago, as I'm recording here at 5:15, Taylor Decker announces he's coming back. We will react to the Lions left tackle returning coming up momentarily. Also, what did Brad Holmes have to say about the offseason, about David Montgomery's future? This is crazy, Cakes. Remember after the season, Montgomery's gone. You're Brad Holmes. Weeks later at the Super Bowl, Montgomery's staying. He loves it. Loves Drew Petzing. Wants to be here. Woo, thank God. David Montgomery's not going anywhere. Today, sure sounds like David Montgomery's could be out again. We'll get into all of that and the Lions announcing they will be playing a game in Munich, Germany. All you Lions season ticket holders that went, this is great. Rod Wood didn't up our prices this year. We're going to get 9 games for the price of 8. No, you're not. You're getting 8 for the price of 8 because the Lions are playing a home game in Germany. All of that today here on a Tuesday Locked On Lions. We promised you Nick Shook from NFL.com. He is going to join us tomorrow on the show. We got too much to do today with the Lions head coach and GM speaking, the news of Taylor Decker. So Nick is kind enough to join us tomorrow on Locked On Lions. All right, let's start with the big news. And I don't know what this means for the team for the draft, because something that Dan Campbell said today resonated with me. But the Lions will have Taylor Decker back this coming season. The veteran on his Instagram page moments ago posted a picture of himself running out of the tunnel and said, quote, "Whom shall I send and who will go for us?" And I said, here am I, send me. Hashtag year 11. Taylor Decker acknowledging on his Instagram that he is not retiring, but instead will be back for an 11th season. Well, first things first, I like Taylor Decker. I think he's good. I think the Lions need to upgrade at center before we're talking about left tackle and right tackle and everything else. The Lions need to upgrade at center more than they need to upgrade at left tackle. That's been my thoughts going back to the week 1 against Green Bay. Decker's a solid player. But what the Lions also need to do during this draft, and it might not necessarily now be at 17, is still look for his replacement and a guy that just in case Decker gets hurt, which he was hurt for most of last season, can step in and play. All right, a lot of rumblings about, well, if Decker retires, you move Sewell to the left side and you draft a right tackle. What was interesting today from Dan Campbell, and again, I'm happy Decker's back because I think he's a good player and he's a leader. And if he's healthy, he'll be solid at left tackle. That doesn't bother me. The Lions' depth at tackle bothers me for sure. Now, Campbell said today on the podium in Indianapolis at the Combine, when asked about Taylor Decker's future, he said, look, I'm leaving Deck alone. We love him. We hope he's back, but I'm leaving him alone. But then he said, look, if it's not Decker returning, then we've got to find a guy. But if it is, we're still going to find a guy. Because as much as I love Deck, he's got some things that are going to need some management. That's kind of where we're at. One way or another, we're going to need somebody that can play over there and that can help us if we need them in a crunch or we need them as a starter. That's important. So and here's the other thing, and I'm not even bringing this up, Taylor Decker has announced he's coming back for year 11. The Lions could cut him. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think the Lions are going to do that. I don't. But they'd free up a boatload of cap space if they dumped both Decker and Glasgow. Would the Lions actually do that? After Taylor Decker puts out a big Instagram post, I'm back, year 11. And the Lions go, no, you're not. Bye. I don't think they're doing that. But I do think they're going to draft a tackle at some point. Dan Campbell openly admitted it today. Even if Decker's back, we got to find somebody else. Because from a depth perspective, Brad Holmes swung and missed on Giovanni Manu, and they really haven't had. Dan Skipper has been good in a pinch filling in. He's now on the coaching staff. There's not a lot of depth at tackle with this team. What was it, week 18? I think Chris Hubbard started at right tackle. Do you remember that? When Sewell was out? The Lions got him off the street weeks earlier. So they are going to add depth there. But Taylor Decker is a good dude, excellent in the locker room, leader, and a player that really, when you put it left tackle, when he's healthy, doesn't hurt you. He helps you more than he hurts you. The question for the Lions is, would they have the guts to release him? I don't think they're going to. But I do like that they're openly talking about at least trying to find his replacement or somebody to add depth-wise if Decker's not healthy. And this past season, he fought through it, man. He was a warrior. He played through a ton of injuries, especially that shoulder, and yet was still out there. So interested in your thoughts. The comments are wide open, of course, on YouTube. And hit us up, whether it's on TikTok, Locked On Lions, Instagram, Locked On Lions, the Facebook page. We're interested in people's thoughts about Taylor Decker. I know there are some fans that would – look, there are some fans that are so reactionary that they want to clean house following a year in which the Lions still had a winning record and for the fourth straight year and still have a lot of talent. But I get it. They failed this year. Right? A disappointing end to a season that went from 15 wins 2 years ago to 9 and finishing in last place in the division. Swept by the Vikings. Unacceptable. And there are some fans that go, oh, move Sewell to the left side, get rid of Decker. Yeah, did you hear what Dery said? They can still cut him. Please, cut him. You don't win with young players. You got to add rookies that can play. You got to add free agents that can play. You want to but having a veteran like Decker at left tackle does not bother me. It doesn't. But if he's not healthy and he's hurting you, you got to have a guy to step in that you're comfortable with that could be the future at either one of those positions, left or right tackle. That's the point I'm trying to make. I think you can win with Taylor Decker at left tackle for another season. I believe that. So that's the big news here of the day. There's so much going on with the team. They're playing a game in Germany, and David Montgomery and all of these things. Brad Holmes talking, Dan Campbell talking today as the team gets ready for the NFL. What are they used to call it the scouting combine. Now they call it the draft combine, which takes place in Indianapolis. And you know what? Last week we had Andrew Siciliano on the show, formerly of NFL Network, now of Yahoo Sports and the Cleveland Browns. And I told him, do not post a picture of shrimp cocktail from St. Elmo's. It's cliche and lame. And Andrew did it anyway on his Instagram last night. Shame on you. It's one of my dear friends, but come on. We'll have to ask Nick Shook about that tomorrow. All right. What else did Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell say today? We have an update on Kerby Joseph. We got to talk about Tate Ratledge maybe being the center option. The David Montgomery thing is an absolute circus. It is a roller coaster. Somebody's not telling us everything on the Montgomery side and on the home side. Something's amiss. All right, I'm not going to ruin it. I'm going to do it when I said I'm going to do it, which is in the second segment. Coming up next. On a Tuesday, Locked On Lions. By the way, I am gone Thursday and Friday on vacation. Jake Riepma, host of Locked On Lions Squad Show. You all know Jake. Jake's going to do Thursday and Friday for me, and I'll be back Monday. So if you don't see me Thursday and Friday, don't go crazy. Jake will do a good job. All right, coming up next, what else did Brad Holmes have to say today? Bradley on the podium in Indy. That's next. But first, Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at Home Chef. As the new year gets going here, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease, and it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or you can even do quick lunches. Over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Recipes are simple, but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. Plus, you save time and money, too. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. For limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be active subscriber to receive free dessert. All right, welcome back in, everybody. This offseason doesn't exist for the Everydayer Club. Join us, please, on our Locked On Lions Everydayer Club. Join the group chat. Talk Lions year-round. Get every episode of the show ad-free as well. Head to lockedonlions.supercast.com or hit the link in the show notes. Thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. All right, got some audio we want to play for you on Brad Holmes talking about David Montgomery. Let's get this out of the way first, though. Both Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell spoke today. Couple of things that stood out for me. #1, Dan Campbell asked about Kerby Joseph and his status for next season. Battling those knee issues that started in training camp last year and lasted for all of the season. He only played in 4 or 5 games. And the Lions and Dan Campbell are not exactly giving us this giant stamp of approval that Kerby's going to play this year. And that sucks. It sucks. What is your level of confidence, Dan, in Kerby playing this year? Quote from Campbell today. That's tough to say. We've been treating him. He's done a few things. We're in, I would say, the position now to where we're slowly working him back. What is this going to look like? How is this going to feel? Call it a month from now. We'll have a lot better of an idea. Is this something where he's going to be able to handle what he's going to feel like? Or can we get it stable enough? Or can we get enough strength? It's all of those things. End quote. I don't think it's necessarily going away, Campbell also said. That doesn't sound like a great update. Man, he's such a good player. And he's so important, and he's the center fielder back there. And it just doesn't sound like the Lions know. They just don't know about Kerby Joseph's future and his knee. And I'll tell you this, we get to the draft in late April, and the Lions take a safety early, we'll know. We'll know. Or the Lions, in a few weeks, sign a free agent safety, we might know. That was not exactly a vote of confidence. Oh, yeah, Kerby's feeling good. We've made progress. They don't know. And that absolutely sucks. What about the future of Graham Glasgow, who, if he is released, would free up $5.5 million in cap space? Brad Holmes asking about Glasgow's future today. The Lions general manager at the Combine. Quote, Graham's still under contract. Again, the start of the league year is a real date. So you want to have as much clarity as possible before then. So hopefully we get as much clarity as we can before then on Graham. When pressed, this is from prideofdetroit.com, when pressed on whether the Lions would keep him if he opts not to retire, Holmes said, quote, those are still dialogues that we just got to have in the future. Okay. Holmes asked about drafting a center, quote, not just center, but offensive line, really both sides of the ball, really. That's something that's not going to be ignored. Whether that's through free agency, through the draft, we'll definitely look at it. What about Tate Ratledge? Is he an option for the Lions to move from guard to center, which they tried early in camp last year? Quote from Brad Holmes, I think that's still a real option. look, we tried him out there early in camp. He wasn't doing anything wrong, but we had that move that we had to move him back. We just felt like where he was at this stage of his career, being a rookie, we felt right guard was going to be a little bit more of an easier acclimation for him. And then Graham's previous experience playing the position, blah, blah, blah. All right. Tate will always be in the conversation, end quote, from Holmes about Ratledge at center. Keep an eye on that for sure. All right. That is a possibility. Now, the big question, David Montgomery. Brad Holmes asked about Montgomery's status for the coming season. Let's take a listen.
Do you still see him being part of the future, or are you open to maybe take some trade calls on David Montgomery?
Yeah, look, I've been in touch with David's his agent and his representation. Obviously, look, we love David. He's a great player. We love to have him. Kind of want to put last year in the rear view and just move forward. But obviously, a player has to want to be at a certain place as well. So those conversations are still fluid, and then we'll just kind of see how it goes.
What has he told you in that regard so far? Would you expect him back at this point?
What's that?
So what has he told you in that regard? Do you expect him back at this point?
His agent?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are conversations that I'll keep in-house. But I would say that I've had healthy dialogue with David at the end of the year, and I've had healthy dialogue with his agent.
Okay. No. I want David Montgomery back, and this just doesn't sound good. Now, maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't. It doesn't sound like this is going to end well. David Montgomery said at the Super Bowl in interviews how excited he was to be back, how he talked to Drew Petzing, how he and Jahmyr Gibbs are Sonic and Knuckles, and let's do this. And it sounded like great. And Brad Holmes is talking like he talked at his end of the year presser. We'll see, the play. We love him. We want him back. And then a giant capital B, but talk to the agent. The player's got to want to do it too. So it sounds like Brad's basically saying David Montgomery doesn't want to be here. And again, David Montgomery is a starting running back in the league. He said it in interviews at the Super Bowl. I feel like I'm a number one back, but he also said, I understand the situation I'm in, and I support Jahmyr, and Drew Petzing has said it. If we can get both guys out there and work, I talked to David, which is great. And I love that Petzing did that. There are some organizations that won't do that. But Brad Holmes today sounded like a guy that is working with the agent. When you're working with the agent about what? Montgomery's under contract, just like Holmes said Glasgow was. When you're working with an agent, it's about a trade. I don't think David Montgomery's complaining about his contract. To me, look, I want Taylor Decker back because I think he's a good player. I want David Montgomery back because I think he's a good player. I've stumped for Al-Qadim Muhammad because he had 11 sacks. All right. The players that I don't want back are guys I don't think are good. I think Graham Glasgow needs to go. I don't think he's good. Josh Pascal can go. Amik Robertson can stay. He's good. It's not all realistic, and I get that. But my point is with Monty, he doesn't make a lot of money. And if something happens to Jahmyr Gibbs, who's toting the rock for this team? What are we doing here? Now, I get it. You got a good offensive line. 7th round running backs make money in this league. 5th round running backs are a dime a dozen. You could go with the Mike Valenti theory. All right. Jahmyr Gibbs is special, but David Montgomery fits everything that this team is about. He's unselfish, unless we're not getting the full story. Montgomery might have told Brad Holmes in his exit interview, get me out. I don't know. We don't know that. And David didn't say that publicly. I watched all of those interviews that Montgomery did. And he looked like a guy that was being completely honest, forthright, and real in saying, hey, I talked to Drew Petzing and I'm a Lion and I'm excited. But you're right. Maybe last year at the end of the year with frustration and some cryptic Instagram posts, who knows what that exit interview looked like between Montgomery and Holmes. Maybe David said, look, if I'm not going to play and you guys are going to, it's the Jahmyr Gibbs show 80% of the time, get me out of here. It's possible. But then did the Lions have Drew Petzing call Montgomery to appease Montgomery, or did Petzing just want to call him and say, and Dan Campbell said today, Drew loves him. Well, if Drew loves Montgomery, let's get him back. Let's bring him back. Let's find a way to utilize good players. But Brad Holmes, that audio did not sound promising for us Montgomery fans here, thinking he's going to be back. What's he talking to the agent about? How's David's car driving? How are his kids? No, if he's having conversations with the agent, it's about moving him, which I don't like. You know, is Vaki Town ready to tote the rock if Gibbs gets hurt? I'm not so sure. All right, the Lions are going to be playing a game in Germany this year. You heard me correctly. One of those 9 a.m., 9:30 in the morning starts here locally. We'll discuss next. Hey, Vaki Town. All right, Locked On Lions brought to you by FanDuel. Ever want to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, like our Pistons. No, it was a tough loss last night, but that could have been an NBA Finals preview last night. Pistons and Spurs. This is the perfect time to lock it in. Now, not only can you pick cash, but can also send you to the finals. All right, I love futures this time of year. Do it up. Take the Pistons. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Nick Shook going to join us from NFL.com tomorrow on the show. I know I've blown off Mock Draft Monday. Told you we were doing it today on Mock Draft Tuesday. And there's just too much going on. Maybe tomorrow I'll sneak in a mock draft on Wednesday. All right, bear with me. Again, thank you to our everyday listeners who are out there, the everydayers. If you want to leave us a voicemail, you can at speakpipe.com/Dery podcast page for our call of the day. We'll do one on Monday when I get back. Okay. Lions announced this morning they are going to be playing a game in Munich, Germany. Shout out to our crack research staff. They called this to me 2 years ago. They said Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to go back to Germany, and they're going to play a game in Germany for Amon-Ra. If you don't know, Amon-Ra's mom is from Germany. He speaks German. They had a cool video that the Lions put on their social media today of Amon-Ra finding out from his mother on video, like a Zoom call, that the team actually is going to be playing in Munich, Germany. What does this mean for you, the fans? Well, number one, like I said, there's going to be a game where the Lions are playing at 9:30 in the morning. So get ready for breakfast with the Lions. What I don't like is they haven't announced the opponent and the date. So for those of you that are going, I've always wanted to go overseas and see the Lions. I'd love to go to Europe and see the Lions play in Germany. You're bleep out of luck for now, because the last they've said is, the Lions have said is it'll be part of the schedule release in May. I hope the NFL, for all these overseas games, can we find out before May when the Lions are playing in Germany so some fans can go over there? Please. I've talked to one source that tells me there's a decent chance that the Lions are going to be playing the Giants that day, but it is a Lions home game. So for those of you that got your season ticket bill last year at the end of the year and went, they're not raising prices. This is great because we got 9 home games next year. Wrong. You got 8. Because the Lions home game is going to be in Munich, Germany, Germany at the FC Bayern Munich or whatever they call it, football club's stadium over there. And look, the NFL has done a great job internationally. They have. All right. They've grown the game. and all of that. I don't love that every Sunday from like week 4 to week 10, it seems like there's a 9:30 in the morning game, but it's more football and people are watching. They are. I made it a point this year. I remember watching Falcons Colts and Browns Vikings. I was watching. I remember those games. So the Lions are going to play a game overseas. I think the last time the Lions played overseas, was it not 10 years ago when Jim Caldwell butchered the clock in the Lions-Chiefs game? And then like second half, I think the Chiefs pulled away. But regardless, very cool for Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is part German, to be able to go home. He does football camps over there in Germany, and this is going to be the St. Brown show over there in Munich when the Lions play there. So I think it's pretty cool. Again, I'm hearing some rumblings about possibly the Giants game being there because, of course, the Lions are going to host the Giants again this year based on the schedule, but they hosted them last year as well at Ford Field, so that could be a match for Detroit. But as of right now, we don't know the opponent, and we don't know the date. We just know they're playing overseas in Munich. All right, more from the Combine tomorrow. Nick Shook will join us from NFL.com. We'll talk about some draft prospects and everything else. Could Max Crosby, could there be a deal made? The Raiders GM, the Spy Tech, the new GM for the Raiders today, said Max Crosby's not going anywhere. Now, again, general managers have said that before. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see on that and if that occurs. But that'll do it for us for a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions. Again, Taylor Decker back. Check us out again tomorrow. We'll talk to Nick Shook and talk more about the Combine and everything else. Guys running in shorts. We'll break it all down tomorrow on this, a Tuesday Locked On Lions, and tomorrow, the Wednesday edition. Thanks for being with us, everybody.